From the years 1985 and 1991, Nintendo had a death grip on the video game market. No one could touch the plumber or the company. They were just the entire video game stock, almost 90% of it belonged to Nintendo. But it was one faithful day on June 23rd, 1991, when the video gaming industry was revolutionized once more, when Sega released Sonic the Hedgehog on the Sega Genesis. Why is this game so memorable? Why did this game spark such an incredible franchise? And how was it so revolutionary? Here, we find out exactly what happened and why Sonic the Hedgehog revolutionized video gaming forever. Small editor's side note here. The background footage is from Sonic Origins Plus, so please deal with the slightly blurry Sonic, as I don't have a PC and I can't play the far superior Sonic 1 Forever, so I'm sorry about that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the background of Sonic the Hedgehog. As you knew from the beginning of the video, the video game market was completely taken over by Nintendo. Like, they had the entire video game market under their hands. Nothing could touch Nintendo. And, other companies wanted that share of the market. They also wanted to make money off video games, seeing Nintendo's huge success with it. And one of those companies was Sega. And Sega needed a mascot to compete with Nintendo's Mario. And so, behind closed doors, Sega started working on one of their most ambitious projects ever, Mr.NeedleMouse. Or well, it would have been Mr.NeedleMouse if they hadn't changed the name to something as not cool as Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, Mr.NeedleMouse is clearly cooler. That's why it's like, the logo of my, channel. It's clearly cooler, But Sega would indeed work on Sonic the Hedgehog. And soon, Sonic Team would be formed under the head of Yuji Naka. We don't talk about what happened with Yuji Naka because, he's not working anymore. And Naoto Oshima, who created Sonic and Eggman's design. And honestly, not enough credit is given to Hirokazu Yasuhara. And I'm sorry if I butchered your name, sir, if you're watching this video. He was the man who drew the level design for Sonic and pitched ideas on how levels would work in the Sonic game. It was him and Naoto Oshima. And so, after cooking for about 2 years, Sonic Team proudly presented their project, Sonic the Hedgehog, on June 23rd, 1991. And it was an instant success. Sega, in a span of a year, took back the video game stock market from Nintendo, giving them 63% of the share. But why did this happen? What was so amazing about Sonic the Hedgehog that it could finally beat Super Mario? One of the biggest factors of why Sonic the Hedgehog 1 succeeded was the implementation of something all Sonic fans either are in love with or are absolutely terrified of it. The M word. Momentum. Momentum was the reason why Sonic 1 was so successful and why its gameplay was so revolutionary. Couple that with breakneck speed of the original Sonic the Hedgehog that would absolutely trump anything Mario could. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves, shall we? Let's talk about, first and foremost, the insanely amazing marketing campaigns that drove Sega the insane sales of Sonic the Hedgehog. If there's one thing that Sega definitely did right, it was the marketing for Sonic the Hedgehog. They instantly went into a battle. Like, when you think of the console wars, you think of Sega and Nintendo because of how aggressive Sega ads were. They were like, oh yeah, be cool and buy Sega and Sonic. Don't be a nerd and uncool and buy Nintendo. It was savage, it was amazing, and some of my favorite ads were when there was an old TV strapped to a old rusty van that had Super Mario World on it, and a race car with Sonic the Hedgehog strapped on the back of it, and they were supposed to race. And Sega absolutely destroyed Nintendo in that ad. And that was just genius marketing. And in the end, you would always have the people in the ad yelling, Sega! Sega! Always. It was a great marketing technique for Sega. And no wonder Sonic the Hedgehog did so well with these marketing techniques. But it wasn't just, the insane marketing. The game itself was actually pretty revolutionary for its time. Not only did this game introduce momentum to 2D platformers, which was like an insane thing back then. The game would work like real life did. Slopes would push you backwards, and upward slopes would push you backwards, downward slopes would push you forward, giving you a greater sense of speed. Speed would be like a reward in classic Sonic. You would have to, or in Sonic the Hedgehog, you would have to build up your speed in a correct way and manner in order to go faster and faster, and in order to be rewarded with those high speed thrills. And looking back in retrospect, there are better 2D platformers. There are better classic Sonic games in general. Every single Sonic game after Sonic 1 did everything so much better than this game did, considering the best zone of the game is Green Hill Zone and then maybe Starlight Zone. Out of the 6 zones in the game, only 2 are actually fun, while the others are a slog to get through. But this game really did something amazing, and it introduced so many things into the video gaming sphere. And of course, and everyone brings this up, but the board fidget that Sonic has, it's so iconic. Everyone knows Sonic tapping his foot, he's waiting for you, and it's iconic. Mario didn't have this personality, no other platformer had this personality, and again, another reason why Sonic the Hedgehog was such a huge success for Sega. But how well did Sonic the Hedgehog do? Well, it sold 15 million copies. Wow, that's a lot. And the Genesis sold 30 million copies, and while it did not beat Nintendo in the console wars, it came pretty dang close, which was incredible because Sega showed everyone else that you can beat a juggernaut like Nintendo. And they did, which is absolutely incredible. And it was all thanks to Sonic the Hedgehog. What about the story of Sonic the Hedgehog? Well, unlike future titles where children die, gods are awakened, and other horrific things like that happen, Sonic 1's story is quite simple. Sonic arrives on South Island to find out that the evil mad genius Dr. Eggman, or in the American version, Dr. Robotnik, is taking over the island, turning little animals into robots and trying to collect the 6 Chaos Emeralds to power his machine and take over the world. Yeah, and it's not that deep, is it? But at the same time, the story didn't really need to be complicated because the revolutionary gameplay and the addition of momentum for the first time in any 2D platformer really made up for the lack in story. And even so, the story did feel really coherent. Unlike in other platformers at the time, the main villain, Dr. Eggman, would appear at the end of every zone at the end of the 3rd act, making him feel like a much more present villain, a much more present threat than unlike any other villain at the time. I'd say Sonic the Hedgehog is so big and so important, the video game, the original, is because this game absolutely saved every single other video game industry, the video game industry and franchise, by taking Nintendo's death grip off the video game market. I mean, who knows? If Sega did not do this, then maybe to this day Nintendo would still be at the top, and other platformers and other platforms like PlayStation and Xbox wouldn't exist or would not be as powerful as they are now. So, if you think about it, without Sega and Sonic the Hedgehog, there would be no PlayStation or no Microsoft. Nintendo would most likely still have a death grip on the video game market. So all you PlayStation and Xbox fans, you can say thanks for all of your favorites, PlayStation and Xbox games, to Sonic the Hedgehog here. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.